Harmy, you've done how many days was it in the end? 20,
17, 18.
17, 18 days of Ashes analysis. So you've spoken a lot about the cricket. There are no doubt a whole bunch of talking points, missed opportunities, turning points, but ultimately, 4-1's a fair score, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 4-1's a big, a massive. It's a huge tick in the box to the way Australia went about their job, and I think it's a huge tick in the box in the way England didn't go about their job. I think we've seen Australia look at this series and have the right plan, and unfortunately, England had a plan. As we listened to Rob Key and to Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes, they had a plan. They did. When anybody wants to say, England had a plan. They had it all mapped out, but unfortunately, it didn't go. It didn't go right. And with hindsight, looking back on it, I would like to know what they think of that plan now. And it probably wasn't the right plan put in place. New Zealand, Lilac Hill, Canberra, whatever you want to say. So for me now, it's about where we go from here. And, we've lost 4-1. We deserve to lose 4-1. And we've said far too much about preparations and everything that goes with it. For me, now it's about actions. We're going to hear about what Ben Stokes has got to say. Brendan McCullum's going to have a lot to say in the next couple of days. Rob Key will probably do the media again. And for me now, what I want to happen is them all to sit in a room with the big wigs from the ECB and work out what happens next for England. I don't want a wholesale change. I really don't. This England management group came in for 2 years and did a brilliant job at the way we look at the game of cricket in England off the back of winning one game in 17. And then for the last 18 months, what's happened? Why have we got into this position? And if them conversations are positive and we think that we can change and we can tweak a few things and we can get ourselves in a position to win the Ashes back in 2027, which I think we can, then we carry on with this management team and we give them a chance to rectify the mistakes that they've made and being honest enough and man enough to stand up and say, this is what we got wrong. If them changes can't be done and people aren't willing to change and the management team don't see that the roadmap ahead is the one that is not as bumpy as what it's just been, then I think something has to change. And my initial thoughts is probably labeled at the coach's door, because for me, he is the one that's setting the message. He's the one that's setting the environment. He's the one that should have every stone unturned and all the bumps in the road prepared for and ready and a plan for when you go into a 5-match Ashes series away from home. And unfortunately, we were hitting speed bumps and going over them at 100 mile an hour. And that, for me, is what needs to be identified.
Obviously, Ben Stokes spoke a lot, did a lot of media after the end of the SCG Test match. This is what he said about England winning just 4 of their last 11 Test matches.
Where we are at the moment is in an interesting place for us as a team. What we managed to achieve in the first 2.5 years was very good. And then we wanted to build on that. We wanted to, grow as a team and be even more consistent than we were in that. And if anything, we've done the opposite of that. We've started losing more. We've not won the big series that we want to be winning. And when a trend is happening on a consistent basis in the way that you don't want it to happen, then that's when you do need to go back and go look at the drawing board and make some adjustments that you think is going to get us back on the path of success again.
Well, that's Ben Stokes. Sometimes a captain has to put a bit of topspin on things to keep his players' spirits up, but there was no sugarcoating any of England's results there. He wasn't attempting to put lipstick on the pig. It's not been an attractive sequence of results. Harmy, as I said, you've done so much analysis around the actual play. So let's talk about the two big issues. I mean, the news that Harry Brook got into an altercation with a bouncer. He seems compulsively drawn to the bouncer, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But not the outsider nightclub. And you and I, we do naturally tread carefully when it comes to indiscreet behaviour and having a drink and whatever, because you and I both enjoy a beer or two, but usually after a game. I mean, this was the third one-day international in New Zealand, in Wellington. It's his last competitive hit before the Ashes. And he's getting into a fight with a nightclub bouncer the night before. I know the game started at 2 o'clock, but I mean, and I have to say that his apology, Harry Brook's apology, as the white ball captain as well, was as contrite as I've ever heard him. You know, he said he unconditionally apologised and realised it was irresponsible, and he's got a duty to his team and his teammates. But the issue is, you know, was it covered up by the England team? Were they always planning to for the news to come out after the Ashes? Did they really think they could keep it concealed for 7 weeks in order not to disrupt the Ashes? And what does that say about the hierarchy? And I just want to get this in before I forget. There's a Harry Brook issue, but all of Brendan McCullum's post-series media interactions to me, Harmy, looked like a man who knew that he was gone. Nasser Hussain said to him, "Are you prepared to change your ways?" And he said, "Frankly, I find that insulting, Nasser." You know, he said about being committed to the process, being committed to what you do, what you believe in. And he said, "I'm not here to be told what to do."
Well, that's him gone then, isn't it? I mean, that's what I'm talking about, putting, and I'm not talking about the board and everything like that. You've got a chairman in Richard Thompson. You've got a chief executive, Richard Gould, two very intelligent men. What Thompson's done and Gould did it. What Thompson did at Surrey and the agency that he's built up tells me, there's a good brain in there across all walks of life, not just sort of tunnel vision in cricket. How to deal with people, deal with complex situations. Richard Gould's the same. He's been in a couple of different sports. Richard Gould, Richard Thompson, Rob Key, Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum in a room. We don't need to know the details. Don't want to know the details. But between them, can they have a honest conversation? Listen to what Ben Stokes is saying there. Harry Brook's apology. For me now, it's about actions. Words are nothing now. It's about actions. We know what we did wrong. We know where we fell short. It's about where we go from here. And if that honest conversation in a room with grown-up people can get to a solution where the current crop carry on, because there is going to be an element of change, redefinement. I'm intrigued to hear what I can't wait to hear what Paul Fraugas is going to say on the coaching element of it and what we need from the coaching sides and how you speak to players and things like that. But that for me is the next step. And if the next step, it doesn't go well and the other two Richards don't like what they hear, and then they have to act. But at this moment in time, I wouldn't want to see an England cricket team captained by anybody other than Ben Stokes if he's in it. And I think what I would, and I don't speak to Ben that much, and whether he's been upset by some of my comments over the course of his last sort of 6 or 7 weeks, there's things he said during this Ashes about the weak men, about the Test team going backwards in the last year, about a whole load of things. I'd want him to really have a good think about what he wants next, because I would want him to captain England, and I want him to know that if I was in his corner, in charge of him, or advising him, where I want to know what you want to happen next after all that's just gone on, and what you've just learned from the mistakes we've just made. What do you want to happen next? Because I want you to take English cricket forward. And that, for me, would be what I would be wanting Ben Stokes to do, because I think Ben Stokes has had his eyes open, and I think there's been a lot of blind faith in this group in the last 18 months. And I think it's all come to roost where possibly we've backed the wrong horses when it comes to either selection, preparation, whatever you want to talk about in this series. And I think it's about honesty now and where Ben wants this team to go. And I think I would like to think there'll be quite a few fall by the wayside, because when the weak men comment, he didn't make that on a whim. He's thought about that. Something's annoyed him. People are getting under his skin. People are not doing their jobs properly. And that, for me, when I look at Ben, especially, he has gone into that series in the best physical condition he possibly could. And he's got right to the very end before his body's broken down. And I think, his run scoring wasn't to the level he wanted. But I think from a bowling point of view and a captaincy point of view, he made mistakes. But for me, I still back the England captain.